Let's talk about quadrants and how we can plot points in MyOpenMath. The first thing you need to know is, as far as the quadrants go, how do we determine whether the point of interest belongs to quadrant 1, 2, 3, or 4? So you can see the picture here in front of you, and imagine drawing a letter C. Okay, so this is the letter C. And so that just to remember that the first quadrant is number 1, and then it goes to 2, 3, and 4. So what do we know? In quadrant number 1, each point has positive coordinates, both x and y. And in quadrant number 2, we've got x is negative, but y is positive. In quadrant number 3, they're both negative. And finally, in quadrant number 4, the x is positive, but the y is negative. So when I say x and y, usually the location of each point is going to be determined by an ordered pair. And the first number is called the x coordinate, and the second one is the y coordinate. But what do they mean? So just imagine that you are located at the what's called the origin, which is where both the x and y coordinates are 0. So just imagine that you are located at a place called 0. Okay, and let's just say that's O. And then you are somewhere else. Okay, so you left, you were driving, and maybe you went to a supermarket, and now you're located, let's say, right here. Okay, so at this point right here, what's happening? How do I get from O to this new point? Let's call it P. And by the way, point P would be in the first quadrant. So the first thing we need to do is identify how many units do we have to go right or left to get to P. So we're starting at the origin and we are jumping 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units, right? Think of it as blocks, like you are crossing the street, you're going first, because you can't go straight from O to P. Okay, that's impossible because you're driving. You can't, there are houses and all of that. So you can only travel roads. You can only travel east, south, west, whatever, right? But not northwest or something like that. So the first thing you do is you're going to go 5 to the right. So the point P will have the x coordinate of 5. And then you're going to, once you get here, then you're going to jump how many units up? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 units. So that means your y coordinate is going to be at 5, 4. So this is quadrant number 1. Now imagine that you are, for example, somewhere over here. So you left the house and first you went to the left, okay? What are the coordinates of the point Q? How do we know that? Well, first thing you do is you went 4 to the left, right? And we write it as -4. So the negative tells us that we need to travel to the left as opposed to the right. And then once you get to this point right here, you are then going to jump 1 up. So the y coordinate of Q is going to be 1. So that's, by the way, quadrant number 2. So you would have to travel 4 to the left because this is -4, and then 1 up. Okay, next, let's say you went to a hotel or something, and the hotel was right here. So how do we determine, how do we get from the origin to the hotel? So let's call it H. Okay, so what are the coordinates of H? Well, what you had to do was go 3 to the left, right? So that immediately will say, okay, that's -3. And then you went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down. So that would be -4. Okay, and this is quadrant 3 because both coordinates are negative. Okay, finally, let's imagine that you decided to go to a park, okay, and the park is located maybe right over here. So this is the park. I don't know, I'm just gonna call it K. So what are the coordinates of K? Well, again, you start at the origin, you are gonna go 6 to the right and 3 down. So that means that your coordinates are gonna be 6 positive, and because you're going down, that would be -3, and that is the fourth quadrant. Okay, so that idea we're gonna take into plotting these points in MyOpenMath. Now, in MyOpenMath, the way you plot is you're gonna, for each point, you're gonna select, if needed, select a point. In this case, the only option you have is the point, okay? So you are gonna start at the origin. So you can actually just click right there. You got a new point. Okay, and then you're gonna go -5, which means you're gonna go 5 to the left. So I'm gonna grab this point. I'm gonna position my mouse over the point. So now I can grab it and press the left mouse button, and I'm gonna jump 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the left. And then the y coordinate is -1. So I'm gonna go 1 down. And that's where my point is going to be, -5, -1. Now, if for any reason you made a mistake and you put a point in the wrong spot, you can just hover your mouse over it and then move it wherever you want. If you just by accident, let's say you already plotted these points and then by accident you just clicked on something and you want to get rid of the point, you can grab it and drag it off the grid and it's just going to go away. Okay, so let's continue. The next point is 3/2. So what is that? Well, you have to start at the origin. So let's click on that. And then you go in 3/2 of a unit. So 1/2, 2/2, 3/2. There you go right here. And then 5/2 up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Notice how you can travel by halves here. And that's going to be a point in, by the way, because both of these are positive, that's going to be quadrant 1. Whereas this one, when both of them are negative, that's quadrant 3. Okay, let's go to the 1/7/2. So again, I'm going to click right here, make a point. I'm going 1 to the right and then 7/2 up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Stop right there. This point is also quadrant number 1 because both x and y are positive. And finally, one negative, actually, no, that's not finally, one more. Okay, so 1, -2. So let's just click on the point, start at the origin. We're going to go 1 to the right and then 2 down. So we're going to wind up over here. That's quadrant number 4. Okay, the last one is -4, 1. So again, you start at the origin, you move 4 to the left, right? Because it's -4, and then 1 up. And this is quadrant number 1. So let's, no, sorry, number 2, because this is where x is negative, but y is positive.